Well, the CrossFit Games may be over, but since its conclusion there's already been a number of interesting CrossFit events held all around the world. Unfortunately, unless you've got an abundance of excess cash, free time, and potentially access to a private jet, you probably won't have been able to see much of it. But could that change? Welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to talk about the live stream at CrossFit or other unlicensed functional fitness events. Now, of course, people do like to complain about the live stream at the CrossFit Games, and not without reason. In fact, there is a video on some ways it could be improved, but we do have to commend CrossFit for the fact that they give us a free live stream of the games every year. The majority of semi-finals also had live streams, and we get to watch this for free on YouTube. And of course, they're not alone in this. We've seen other big competitions also provide live streams for us. We can think about Wodapalooza, the Rogue Invitational, to name just a few, that have given us the opportunity to see athletes compete in the off-season. But when we look at the sheer number of CrossFit events that are being held throughout the year, we could say that these are very much the exception and not the rule. Now, if you watched the Savan podcast where J.R. Howell and Taylor Self were analysing the HWPO programming at the Madrid Championship, we will have frequently heard them lament the fact that they weren't actually able to see any of it in action. Despite the fact that it was a big competition with a big prize purse and big name athletes, there was no live stream. However, that same weekend, a comparatively smaller event, the British Teen and Masters Championships, well, they did have a live stream. Actually, right here on this YouTube channel. And this is really the point that I'm trying to make. As technology makes it easier than ever to provide some kind of live stream, is there really any excuse for events not to have one, or at least not to consider whether or not they could provide one? Now, of course, the live stream that we were able to put on for the Teens and Masters Championships was in no way up to the standard of the CrossFit Games. But the feedback that we got was incredible from friends and families of the athletes that were just so happy to be able to watch their friends or family member throwing down at this event. Now, of course, I'd make a little disclaimer at this point that we'd never done anything like this before. We ran into a number of problems that we couldn't have anticipated, things we had to overcome on the day. So if we were to do it again, already we'd make quite a few changes and it would already look a lot better anyway. But the point is that someone like myself who just makes videos on YouTube, if I'm able to, with a team of people, and thank you to those that were able to help me out, if we're able to put on a live stream like this, shouldn't competitions be thinking about incorporating that into their budget so that they too can do the same? Or looking for volunteers or people that would be willing and able to provide some kind of live stream for the athletes, their friends, family, and just the fans of the sport. Now, of course, on the one hand, if an event plans to put on a live stream, we know they could put on the most beautiful, perfect production, and still people would complain that certain things weren't good enough. So we know the nature of YouTube. And of course, we can't expect that events can put on the same level of production as the CrossFit Games. They don't have the money from everybody's open registration to do that. But the question is a lower quality live stream better than no live stream? Well, I can think of a few reasons why having a live stream is beneficial to the athletes and the competition itself. For example, as CrossFit grows globally, we start to see more and more international athletes making it to the highest level of the sport. And wouldn't it be great to have an opportunity to watch them compete before a semi-final, or maybe them making it to the games? This would be great for us to know the athletes, but it would also help people like Brian Friend or other analysts who like to make power rankings or predictions on how athletes will perform, especially as we often hear criticism when things are too American focused and you don't incorporate outstanding performances of international athletes. Well, if they can't see them, they can't really report on it. Or we could think about the athlete themselves. This helps them be seen, be known, become a name within the sport. It will increase their following on social media. And that's not just a popularity contest, but at the moment, the nature of CrossFit, we know that that is a real earning opportunity for these athletes. The bigger name they have, the more followers they have, the more opportunities they're going to have for sponsorships and things like that. And at the moment, that is going to probably be the primary way they are able to make some additional funds in order to fuel that CrossFit journey. And I have another thought, which I'm not sure if it should go for the athlete or for the event, probably both, but it's to do with accountability. If you know that it is being streamed, it is being recorded, people are going to be able to watch it live, they're going to be able to watch it back. Is that not going to make athletes more accountable for their movement standards? Is it not going to make competitions more accountable for the judges that they choose, for the way they run their competition? If they know that the eyes of the world are potentially on them, is that not going to force them to make sure they are on their absolute best behavior? But it's not all negative that the eyes of the world are on them, because if they are proud of their event, what an opportunity to publicize it. You know, maybe this year somebody was a little bit on the fence. They weren't sure whether or not this was the event for them. There are so many CrossFit events happening at the moment, and you can only go to so many. Of course, the athletes are paying their way. We know that they have to, pay for hotels, travel expenses, take time off work potentially to get there. So there's only so many they can choose. So what an opportunity for you to show the world how good your event is, how well run it is, how good the actual events were themselves. So maybe someone who didn't go this year, they'll see it on the live stream and they'll know, you know what, next year, that is a competition that I want to be at. Another thing we could think about for the event is when they are trying to attract potential sponsors. It's one thing to tell a sponsor that you're going to have X number of people at your event competing and maybe X number of tickets that you hope to sell. But if you can also tell them that it's going to be live streamed, that is going to stay up on your channel, and pretty much it's there until you decide to take it down, let's say forever for now, well, that's going to be more appealing to a sponsor, right? Or just think about the general CrossFit populace and the audience itself. Now, you're not going to get as many people on your live stream as the CrossFit Games, but people will be interested and tune in. Maybe they start hearing about an athlete and they discover that they were at that event, so they go and seek it out. Maybe it was something like the HWPO programming at the Madrid Championships. People are curious, they just want to see what it's like, so they go and seek out the event. There could be a number of reasons people decide to tune in to that live stream. Maybe they're just bored and want to watch some CrossFit. Personally, some of the feedback we got for the Teens and Masters Championships from the athletes was the fact that it made them feel special, kind of professional, the fact that they were being live streamed, having interviews after the events. But also we had a lot of comments on the stream from friends, from family, from people that were unable to travel to be there in person, but were so happy to be able to cheer on someone from their box or a family member in this way. So can every event put on a games level broadcast? No. But could every event put on some kind of broadcast? Absolutely. And just for context, a final detail about the Teens and Masters Championship, we found out on the day that we were not going to be given access to the Wi-Fi in the facility. So we had to adjust, adapt. We did everything from our phones and hotspotting the PC that we needed to use. So if we were able to do that, I'm pretty sure others could do the same. I guess it ultimately comes down to whether or not this is viewed as a priority. When people are putting together events and they're thinking about the programming, they're thinking about the venue, they're thinking about the volunteers they need, are they thinking about whether or not they should have a live stream? Do they see the benefits that it has for their event or for CrossFit in general, just to get the message out? Because that's another detail we could mention. Maybe somebody only watches this, they don't watch the games, but they watch this because a family member's there. And maybe that's enough for them to get interested in CrossFit, whether that be the sport or just the methodology, and they start that journey towards a fitter, healthier them. So there are lots of benefits that could come from having a live stream. What do you think? Is it something that events should be thinking about, whether or not they can provide even small-scale events that could put on some kind of live stream? Would you be interested in watching live streams if they're from smaller events that are not at the scale of the CrossFit Games? Let me know what you think in the comments. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.